Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Lit with Fonz. Does your life feel chaotic and in need of some order? It's easy for chaos to overrun your life when there isn't a set purpose or meaning in your life. A lot of us are living like that, and I want to help you with that by recommending this book. It's Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, an antidote to chaos. Now, Jordan Peterson of late has been at the center of a lot of controversy, but it doesn't change the fact that this book is incredibly life-changing. So I recommend you pick it up, and I'm going to talk about some key talking points of the book that I felt are worth looking over and talking about. How did I hear about this book? I really enjoy listening to the intellectual dark web. There's a lot of guys on there that you might know and be familiar with, like Ben Shapiro, Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Dave Rubin, and Jordan Peterson. And these people have very different point of views. Most of them are opposing point of views, but they still can have conversations in a civil manner without becoming disrespectful to each other. And that's kind of a lost art in the US right now. And I really enjoy listening to people who can share their thoughts without feeling disrespected or belittled. So my brother actually told me about Dr. Jordan Peterson, and I looked into him, and I really liked his common sense approach to a lot of hot button topics right now in the news, where people are having these radical feelings and display of emotions when really they're just common sense issues. Everyone started talking about this book, 12 Rules for Life, so I decided I have to read it and I have to do a video on it. Well, I'm very glad that I did because it turned out to be a very good book. Why I recommend it. 12 Rules for Life provides a lot of great advice, but the advice is very practical. The advice hits on bad habits in particular that you may not even be aware of that you are doing, but you need to break out of them because they're getting in the way of you reaching your full potential and being your most productive self. The premise of this book is setting your house in order before you try to fix the world. We're very quick to criticize the world and all the evil that's in the world, but this book has you examine your own evil before you go and try to change the evils of the world, because we're no good to anybody when our life is in chaos. We need to get ourselves in order before we can try to bring some order into the world. Here's a quick summary. First, I'm going to talk about all of the rules. I'm going to read a quick excerpt from each of the chapters to you that I feel summarize the chapter very well. Rule 1. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. Now, this may seem like a very simple idea, but with the clinical side of it, it really makes a lot of sense here. He talks about serotonin levels and how that affects you just from your posture and how you carry yourself. And check this out on page 15. Low serotonin means decreased confidence. Low serotonin means more response to stress and costlier physical preparedness for emergency, as anything whatsoever may happen at any time at the bottom of the dominance hierarchy, and rarely something good. Low serotonin means less happiness, more pain and anxiety, more illness and a shorter lifespan among humans just as among crustaceans. Higher spots in the dominance hierarchy and the higher serotonin levels typical of those who inhabit them are characterized by less illness, misery, and death, even when factors such as absolute income or number of decaying food scraps are held constant. The importance of this can hardly be overstated. So this talks about how confidence and a positive outlook on life can have chemical ramifications on your brain. So stand up straight and embody confidence, and your brain will help you follow suit. Rule 2. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. This one was very interesting. I liked it. People are better at filling and properly administering prescription medication to their pets than to themselves. That's not good. Even from your pet's perspective, it's not good. Your pet probably loves you and would be happier if you took your medication. Take care of yourself and guard yourself from destructive behavior. We are our own worst enemy. On page 47, he writes, "The worst of all possible snakes is the eternal human proclivity for evil." Russian writer Alexander Solzhenitsyn insisted the line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being. Rule 3. Make friends with people who want the best for you. Bad company corrupts good morals. people who don't even support you as a person in your best interest are going to lead you astray. So it's better to have people in your life who are going to support you and help you be better rather than keep you dependent on them and hold you back. So check out this quote from the book. Freud called this a repetitive compulsion. He thought of it as an unconscious drive to repeat the horrors of the past, sometimes perhaps to formulate those horrors more precisely, sometimes to attempt more active mastery, and sometimes perhaps because no alternatives beckon. People create their worlds with the tools they have directly at hand. Faulty tools produce faulty results. Repeated use of the same faulty tools produces the same faulty results. Do you have faulty friends? If you keep using your friends that are not helping you out, you're going to have the same result, a faulty life. Find yourself some friends that are going to be supportive and are going to look out for your best interest so that you don't repeat the same mistakes you've been making your whole life. Rule 4. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Focus on how you've grown and where you've come from. Rather than looking at where people are now and where you aren't, it's hard to be content with your own circumstances when you look at somebody else who hasn't had the same life and the same difficulties and doesn't have the same talents and abilities you have. So it's not even fair to yourself to criticize yourself based on somebody else. They haven't had your struggles, they haven't had your story. So instead, look to who you were, who you are, and who you've been, and where you are now, and who you want to be. And that's a better way to look at it. Take a quote from the book on page 94. Perhaps happiness is always to be found in the journey uphill, and not in the fleeting sense of satisfaction awaiting at the next peak. Much of happiness is hope, no matter how deep the underworld in which that hope was conceived. So find happiness in the struggle. Look to how you are growing and that process to find your happiness. Challenge yourself to grow beyond who you've been, and that's where you're going to find happiness. Rule 5. Don't let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. This is actually one of my favorite chapters in the book. It talks about raising your kids right, to be prepared for the world rather than trying to protect them from the world. Because once the world hits, it's going to be a rude awakening. Consider this quote from the book. Children can be damaged as much or more by a lack of incisive attention as they are by abuse, mental or physical. This is damage by omission rather than commission, but it is no less severe and long-lasting. Children are damaged when their mercifully inattentive parents fail to make them sharp and observant and awake and leave them instead in an unconscious and undifferentiated state. That's deep, and it hits home. We need to get children prepared, and we need to prepare them intentionally rather than just letting them grow up under our supervision. Rule 6. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. This is something that I talked about before. You have to confront your own evil before you can address the evils of the world, because oftentimes we're criticizing the world when we ourselves still need to get our lives together, and we're no good to anybody if we're all in shambles. Consider this quote from the book. Every person is too complex to know themselves completely, and we all contain wisdom that we cannot comprehend. So simply stop. When you apprehend, however dimly, that you should, stop. Stop acting in that particular despicable manner. Stop saying those things that make you weak and ashamed. Say only those things that make you strong. Do only those things that you could speak of with honor. We're all on different stages of our journey, and what's important to me is not important to everybody else. So you have to worry about what you have control over instead of wasting your life on some impossible mission like saving the world or solving world hunger. You can't, but you can make a difference in your sphere of influence. You can make a difference in your life that will make you a more beneficial part of society. So set your house in order before you try to solve the world's problems. Rule 7. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. In this day and age, a lot of people are looking for instant gratification. It's those quick hits of happiness that we know are going to guarantee our pleasure and happiness, but it's not lasting. It goes away and then leaves us wanting more. And that's not giving you the fulfillment of living a meaningful life. This book talks about how you can identify meaning and make your life meaningful, so you're not looking for instant gratification that's fleeting and passes with a moment and then leaves you wanting again. Instead, consider this quote from the book. Meaning is the way, the path of life more abundant, the place you live when you're guided by love and speaking truth, and when nothing you want or could possibly want takes any precedence over precisely that. So live for what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Rule 8. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. It'll save you a lot of grief if you just tell the truth, or at least don't say anything at all. Sometimes it's better to just not say anything, as Thumper said. Here's a quote from the book. The Word of God transformed chaos into being through the act of speech. It is axiomatic within that tradition that man and woman alike are made in the image of that God. We also transform chaos into being through speech. We transform the manifold possibilities of the future into the actualities of the past and present. You see, our words have the power to control our future and create problems or solve problems. Telling lies is only going to cause more problems in your life, and it's going to create issues that you don't need. It's better to just tell the truth, or at least don't lie. And you can get around that by just not saying anything at all. Sometimes it is wiser, like the Bible says, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Rule 9. Assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. This one is pretty simple, but it's still really good. Be teachable and be willing to learn from anything or anyone. There are truths in everything, but you should always be able or willing to learn something new. You don't know it all. None of us do. So be open to learning, and your wisdom will just grow as you get older. Rule 10. Be precise in your speech. This one's very good. I like this quote from the book. Say what you mean so that you can find out what you mean. Act out what you say so you can find out what happens. Then pay attention. Note your errors. Articulate them. Strive to correct them. That is how you discover the meaning of your life. That will protect you from the tragedy of your life. How could it be otherwise? Knowing exactly what you mean and meaning exactly what you say is going to save you a lot, and it's going to help you discover who you are and what you stand for. Sometimes allowing yourself to be overgeneralized and vague in your beliefs can leave you really not knowing what you stand for. And when you don't know what you stand for, you'll fall for anything. So know what you mean what you say, be precise in your speech. Rule 11. Do not bother children when they are skateboarding. Like you, when you see a title like that, you read that kind of scratching your head like, what does that even mean? But take this for example. He tells a story about watching these kids skateboarding outside of the university one day, and they were failing and trying again when they were trying to skateboard down this handrail down the stairs. And that's very dangerous. They could fall and get hurt. But when they fell and got hurt, they got back up and tried again, and they weren't wearing any safety equipment. Now, some people would say that's dangerous. Don't let them do that. They're going to get in trouble, or they're going to get in danger. But he talks about it this way. They weren't trying to be safe. They were trying to become competent. And it's competence that makes people as safe as they can truly be. Which means allow yourself and allow children to challenge themselves, try new things, and allow them to fail, but encourage them to keep on trying. They learn safety through competence, and they learn to grow and get better by trying things over and over again until they get it. And I was a skateboarder as a kid, and I knew what it was like when you would fail, and I knew what it was like when you got it. And once you got it after failing and failing and failing, man, it felt good. It felt so good you had to do it again, and when you did it the next time, it was even better than the first time you did it. So when you see children skateboarding, don't interrupt them. This also teaches you to be brave when you're facing obstacles. Be brave in the face of fear. Be brave in the face of failure. Fear will keep you from trying things that may be wonderful. Bravery will allow you to fail, but fail forward as you continue to try and do something amazing with your life. Rule 12. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the streets. I'm not a cat person, and I thought, I don't like cats and I don't want them to scratch me. What that means is take every opportunity to be innocently spontaneous and joyful. I like this quote from the book. If you pay careful attention, even on a bad day, you may be fortunate enough to be confronted with small opportunities of just that sort. You never know what you can encounter that might be fun, joyful, and exciting. But if you stay rigid and don't allow yourself to try new things, try things even that you might be afraid of, or just allow yourself to be happy, that's what this is about. It's really nice to think about and really refreshing to think, there's a cat on the street, extend your hand to it. It might just rub its face against you and you can pet it, and it might be a nice experience that you can enjoy. It's not just to cats though. It could be anything. If someone asks you to try something new that could make you happy, that could be spontaneous and it's innocent, try it. How this book affected me. This book has had a profound impact on me personally, in my faith, and also in my understanding of how my mind works. Strangely, this book also helped me as a parent. Rule 5 helped me to realize that I need to get my children ready for adulthood. I'm trying to raise adults who are going to be functional and proactive members of society, rather than children who just grow up. I can't protect them from the world. I need to get them ready for the world, because like it or not, they're going to have to deal with the world. So I'd rather them be ready for it rather than be taken by a storm and not know how to cope. Chapter 7 made me want to focus my efforts on creating meaningful memories and moments with my wife and children, rather than allowing our time to just be passing and getting through the day. Making sure that we have times that are intentionally spent making memories that will teach them something about life and that they will remember and they can pass down to their children. Chapter 11 taught me to let go of my anxieties and to let my kids be brave. I'm so focused on trying to keep them from getting hurt, jumping off of that high wall that I'm like, no, you can get hurt. I need to let my children fail and try and to be brave and courageous and climb that tree, jump off that wall, whatever is going to help them be more competent. And as long as they're not afraid to try and possibly get hurt, but keep trying and keep getting up again and moving forward, then let them explore. Let them do those things. Give them that independence so that they're not constantly depending on me to be their answer, but to think critically and try these things and learn to safeguard themselves. As a parent, I want to protect them from the world, of course, but there's things that they can be ready for, even now, in a developmentally appropriate way, so that they're not stunted and able to adapt to whatever the world throws at them. I need to show my kids the man that I want them to be, and the best way to show them is to be that person. And once they see that I am that man who has been able to make order out of chaos in their life, and as chaos has come in, I can adapt and move forward, then they'll grow up to be even better men than I am. And that's the hope for us all, isn't it? So if you haven't read this book, check it out. It's going to change your life. It's going to help you to get yourself in order, and then you can do something amazing in the world. You can start to change yourself, and if you yourself become a productive member of society, then you've already made a benefit to the world. So read the book, check it out. It's also great listening on Audible if you want the audiobook. I really enjoyed it. Jordan Peterson reads it himself. As always, thank you for checking out this video. If you'd like to watch more videos, subscribe to our channel. Until next time, goodbye.